You were using cloak and dagger's ult incorrect. I'm going to explain that and hopefully be a little entertained. The first mistake I see people do with cloak and dagger's ult is they ult and go left
Us against the world.
and right. Left and right. This does heal your team, but your team is now stuck in that spot, in that position, if they want to get heals from your ult. On top of that, the enemy team can just push them out of it and kill them anyways. Especially with new characters like Sue Storm being able to literally push players, and then Hulk ult being able to also push players. The second mistake I see people doing is they ult backwards towards their team that may or may not need healing. Now, yes, your team does also get healed from this, but you could have healed them anyways. Ulting backwards gives your team no space whatsoever and gives the enemy team space because your team is going to run towards what's going to bring their HP up. So they're all going to move backwards, whether or not it be off of sight or off of the convoy. Then the enemy team is going to take the space that you just gave them. The third mistake I see people doing is using the cloak and dagger ult to counter another cloak and dagger ult. You should not be using cloak and dagger's ult to counter other healer ults. Healer ults don't last as long as they feel. If you were to wait just like 5 seconds before using your ult, you would have actually successfully countered their ult. When the enemy cloak and dagger ults towards you and you ult on top of it, yes, you do cancel out their ult, but you also cancel yours, making yours and theirs useless. The last thing is not a mistake, but it is a tip that I'm going to give. When you're ulting, yes, if you're playing domination, you need to ult on point and take up the space so that the enemy team gets pushed off of space and you get to take it from them. Your team can fight the enemies who are off of sight and get heals. If you're playing convoy, please, you need to be ulting towards the enemies. Cloak and Dagger now has 4 dashes. You need to use 3 of them to ult towards the enemies and use the last one to ult back towards your team. This creates space so that your team can push up and fight the enemies, push them even further out of your ult, and thus kill them. On top of that, after you use your ult, you need to always be making sure that you are using your healing orb on top of your ult. Your prime objective as a strategist is to keep your team alive. Do not immediately switch to cloak and try and get kills. Now, with that being said, after you do use your healing orb, please switch to cloak and use your debuffs. Use your skills that will help your team get kills. If you follow this, you will always be on